Carrabelle Community Redevelopment Agency. It's Tuesday, April 18th at 1:31 p.m. For Carrabelle City Hall. And ask Commissioner Allen to please say the invocation and pledge allegiance to the flag after that. Please stand.
Our Father, so grateful that we have this opportunity to come together on this beautiful day and a beautiful city to discuss the things that are the welfare of the future world, the economy of our town. We ask you to be blessing all these of us tonight, today, and deliberate those things that are very important to the course of this wonderful town. We ask you to do your leaders of our country, all situations, right there, all do is bring the matter and the rule of all things. We ask this in Jesus' name.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, then, we'll move right on to the roll call, and I'm proud to say we have Mr. Rob Powers, Mr. Bo May, Commissioner Cal Allen, Commissioner William Massey, myself, Brenda Lopez, Commissioner Frank Mathis, and Commissioner Keith Walden. All right, very good. And we ask for approval of the March 21st minutes. With the fact in those minutes, we did have 2 grant amounts that were awarded, and I just wanted to review that. That was the rare land development properties for $9,040 and the nonprofit event special grants, special event grant for $2,500. So we have a motion. Did y'all get to review those minutes from March 21st? And is there a motion regarding those minutes?
I'll make the motion.
To approve?
Yes.
Okay, and then is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Massey, second by Commissioner Mathis. Is there any more discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We'll move forward to staff reports, and Courtney's going to give us a report today, a good report, so we'll start with her.
Suncoast Electric's been down. They've replaced the 3 lamp heads on Marine Street that needed replaced. They're working on the additions that we had. Last meeting we approved for them to drop down the power cord, the power source, so that we can have plug-ins for the festivals. They're running those from an existing outlet up top. They're bringing them down. So when he got up there, the ones up top are really corroded. And we're having to get Duke Energy to have to come out and turn off all the power on the lights on Marine Street before he can replace those. But they are working on that.
Okay, so we know that that won't be ready, unfortunately,
For the Riverfront Festival.
And will there be an additional charge for that?
We don't think so.
Okay. I want to say that all the lights, I was out there about a week ago at night, and all the lights there, decorative lights look good. I think they were all on. I haven't seen that. It's real nice. The lights up the area. Okay.
For the Marine Street Triangle parking lot, you know, we went to Water Management District to ask them about permitting that, and they sent us to DEP. And it's kind of a good thing because DEP has a shorter process in getting permitted. So right now we're at DEP asking for permits for that, and the bid package should be ready by next week. So we'll be putting that out to bid probably in a week or so.
That's speeding things up.
The progress of the Southeast Avenue C Project, they have ordered the geotechnical investigation and have been authorized to proceed to confirm pavement design for Avenue C and the depth of the millings on First Street. The project has been submitted for permit exemption verification to the Water Management District, and they'll advertise for bids on receipt of the geotech report.
Courtney, since we're going to have some extra time today, and since everyone's here, I wanted to just review real quick the conceptual plans for the Marine Street parking lot and for Avenue C, so that everyone knows. I've got the engineer's estimate here that was given to us on February the 21st for $198,000 basically. And some of y'all may not have So we worked on it, and they're gonna have, the parking places are gonna be about 55 feet long, so that they can take a boat and trailers. And this is it, right here, we're gonna use, pervious cement, concrete, so we won't have to waste any variable attention. And stop bars here, stop signs, and, so this will be it. Here's the Marine Street turnaround, boat ramp.
And how many parking spaces is in there?
I'm trying to see. Does anyone remember how many parking spaces I had? Remember that?
Rob or Bo, might Rob?
Okay. You know, we had, at one point, there was gonna be something 40 or 45 parking spaces, but there wasn't enough room to turn around, to pull the vehicles out of here without running into the trailer. So we widened this space here between each driveway for 20 feet so they can pull out. And that reduced the spaces.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if when they do it all done, and you go down there and find out those people who park there.
Oh, you mean like double park?
You gotta have a plan. There won't be a vision, they're not gonna do something.
Well, if they double park, then that kind of self will take it.
I mean, we gotta get what we gotta do.
And,
If they go anywhere else, they find themselves paying $10 for lunch.
Probably make some money on that.
you're probably gonna have about 30 parking spaces. Okay. And then there's gonna be a crosswalk right here.
Well, we probably do need to get some signs made saying that if they double park, they say people fine. And then people are not, get a sign up. I'm sure the fine will take the sign.
Yeah. You got a handicap parking. So that's something to consider. So we don't wanna end up with just 12 parking spaces. Can't see how they have to fix issues that fast, they can't park right. And then the other one was the Avenue C, and that price, we got a new quote on that, at $74,000 basically. And here's, this is Marine Street, and they're going to grade out, level out, put some pervious, maybe gravel or oyster shell here, monkey grass all around that power line, power pole here around here, and then palmetto bushes here along the side. And then this is Avenue C, and I believe it's going to be 11 spaces here with a handicap space. And then they're going to asphalt all of Avenue C, asphalt, and then put ground milled asphalt on First Street. Avenue C. So we'll have most of, all of our streets down there being paved. Short. Yes, that will. Okay, does anyone have questions for Courtney? Okay.
Courtney, one question if you don't mind. When they get all this done, will all that building that's in the Allen Park, Cameron Allen Park, that be moved out, cleared out?
It's probably gonna take most of it.
On the next staff report will be the city attorney. Okay. And is there any public comment?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I'm bringing you all, literally hot off the press, the schedule, the final schedule, which I'm sure we'll have another version of, but of the schedule for the festival. I mean, am I missing down this way? Mr. Allen, did you
I've
get
got
one?
two, no, I didn't.
There's 2 pages.
Oh, okay.
And Mr. Bowden. Okay, so basically the short day is Friday. It starts at 4, goes to 8, followed. We're going to have start at 4 o'clock on Friday, and we would invite you all to come be a part of the parade of the species, which is our first major event at 5 o'clock, and we're stepping out from in front of the History Museum, so please come down and join us to do that. It's always fun, and we'll be walking down to the main stage, and there'll be a few activities on Friday night, and then after the festival is over at 8, then we'll have a street dance at the stage on Avenue B, featuring Greg and crew. So we're delighted to have that, and really want to promote that in the community, because I think people would enjoy coming to it. It's something they used to do out in front of City Hall a long time ago. I bet you remember when they had it out there. And then on the second day, it's the full-blown, everything will be here on Saturday, starting at 10 and going to 6. And there's the usual kinds of things that we have with music events on the main stage, the pet parade, and we have a pony in the pet parade this year, so I don't quite know how that's going to work. But just, there's always a surprise someplace. So there's going to be those things, and if you have any questions, please get with me or Steve and or Sherry Wesley. The 3 of us are kind of doing that. And then along in front of the museum on Avenue B, there's going to be educational and informational programming about survival skills if you're shipwrecked or you're lost in the woods and don't have anything with you, how you can make a snare out of materials that you can find there and catch a critter, or you can how you can do all kinds of other survival skills, make thatch, wolf thatch shelters, and have all. There's 4 or 5 different people instructing on how to do survival skills, and then the touch tanks for the kids or the grown-ups from the marine aquarium up in Panacea, and those kinds of hands-on things. You're going to have a baby owl from the Wild Mammal Association, where they're rehabilitating the owl. The pelican was already spoken for this week, but we got the baby owl instead. So anyway, it's going to be a fun, educational, informational thing on there. It's history, nature, and culture. On Avenue B, the place to see. So, anybody have any questions? The band this year, the main big band is Big Daddy and Red Hot Java that some of you have seen over the last few months. And they're really entertaining blues, jazz, blues kind of guys. And of course, the Fishy Fashion Show at 2 o'clock is our big to-do for our local talent. But we have a lot of other talent happening around it too. So please come and join us. We'd be glad to have everybody.
May I have one thing? In connection with Governor Stone, we have a group coming down from Tallahassee. They're cadets, sort of like the ROTC with their Navy people. They're going to come down and be working with the Governor Stone, learning how the boat works and doing some sailing with it. They'll also be providing security and be set up in tents down with the Air Force. The Air Force has allowed them to camp down there on their property. So we'll see them walking around in uniform and just make them feel welcome.
Sea cadets.
See, what are the Sea Cadets?
Sea cadets, they're called.
That's SE Ave.
Does anyone have any other questions for Ms. Tamara? Any more public comment? Okay, we'll move on to our new business item. Item 1, new building facade site improvement grant application review for John Dunn at 308 Southeast First Street, Carrabelle, Florida. And I know Courtney sent all of those out to those of us that have email. Did everyone else get a chance to review the application? Has everyone had an opportunity to review the application? Do we have, Mr. Dunn is here, so do we have questions for Mr. Dunn? He's requesting $4,760 for a $5,950 project. He's going to replace his metal roofing, his shingles with 26-gauge metal roofing, and $1,000 can be applied to that part of the project, and then paint all the exterior and trim. And I rode by there yesterday. It looks real nice already. Your yard is all cleaned up. I mean, it just it looks so good.
Been working on it.
Yeah. Okay. So, any more comments or questions? Would someone like to entertain a motion regarding this application for the site grant?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Massey. Do we have a second? Okay, Mr. Rob Powers, he's got it. It's going to second that motion. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries, Mr. Dunn. So,
Thank you very much.
all right, we look
The
forward.
place does look good.
Much appreciated.
Okay. We look forward to seeing the completed project. And we have no new business, and we're moving right along here for a change. Some of our meetings tend to be 2.5 hours long. Innovio Consulting Group, and they have the project Southeast Avenue C, and we've already talked about that under the staff report. In the same way with environmental consulting technology, there is the Marine Street parking lot, boat parking lot, and we defer to the staff report on that. So then we move to CRA board projects, and we put under there just because we have some extra time today to have some preliminary discussion of potential 2017-18 projects for the CRA board and district. And if anyone has any ideas, this would be a good time, a good free time to just discuss some projects. I know, Mr. Powers, we've discussed one before, earlier, the Sonoma property.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to continue.
I beg your pardon, I'm sorry.
I'd like to continue with investigating what we can do to improve the Sonoma property on Main Street.
I'd like
Move
to
it
buy
or
that.
remove it or something. Maybe what you think.
I would like for us to buy that.
Whatever, I was just saying we need to do something to, just letting it sit there.
But I think every time it goes into goes into foreclosure, they buy it back out, don't they? But it's went into foreclosure a couple of times.
Let Mr. Hartman talk about that just a little bit. It's deep for
It did, and what I had done was pull title work on it, and this is a while back, and provided to y'all, and I'm gonna try to recollect, because you're right, it went into foreclosure, Sonoma declared bankruptcy, discharged it, I understand he discharged it, so that there's no longer any debt on it. The bank never, Regions Bank at that time, never moved ahead with foreclosure because they didn't want, that's my opinion, because they didn't want to have to deal with securing it, so they were down by the county and all this. And what you have is, there's, I believe, unpaid taxes piling up on it, And so you have unpaid taxes, you've got bankruptcy trustee that you have some interest in, and bank. And unclear which bank right now. And so even Cliff Butler, for some reason, there was an interest in that one.
Tom Crum.
Yeah, well, Simmons
The
really,
big brick building.
yeah. I do know that there's an individual has paid the taxes for the last 8 years on that property.
Well, the tax certificates. Yeah. And that may be Cliff Butler. Some of that showed up in
I
there.
don't know about that part, but there's like $4 million worth of federal tax liens on it. And
Oh,
then the 4 million on the Regions Bank.
That's right. Those shows up, the tax liens show up. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
the story
go
on the tax liens would be, and this is not unusual, is that they do take like super priority. A lot of times tax liens will, US IRS tax liens. But what they typically have, if someone forecloses on the property, they have a right of redemption for 90 days approximately following the foreclosure sale of the property. They almost never exercise that because the US government moves slow, so they don't usually exercise it. However, if it's sold, they get paid first. So, typically. But that's a whole nother, there is a bunch of hair on that piece of property, obviously.
So, say if the city were to make an offer on it, then the IRS might come down, city and want their money.
No, what would probably happen is, the real problem right now would be, who does the city make the offer to? Do we negotiate with the bank? Do we negotiate with the IRS? Do we negotiate with, the bank, the IRS, the actual owner, or the bankruptcy trustee? It's a mess, and as a lawyer, when we talk about this, as far as different strategies to acquire the property, we could buy a tax certificate over 2 years old and try to foreclose that. We could, the bank probably has a pretty, as far as priority of interest, they probably have the best. So you could look to the bank, but you want to coordinate that with the bankruptcy trustee and find out what we could pay to take over their position, and then you would have a legal case to foreclose on it, everything else. But all that is, number one, it's really would be rare for a government to get involved in that type of thing because it's risky. I mean, it could be you guys say, all right, we'll pay $20,000 to take over a hundreds of thousands of dollar mortgage. We could end up getting, coming out snake eyes on that, and there's a private client could roll the dice and take that risk, see how it works out. But a public isn't, it'd be hard for me as a public agency attorney to recommend that the city, roll the dice and do a speculative investment in some party's position as to that property in hopes that we, of course that's my job, pick the right one and get it. Because I can't guarantee it. I cannot say, the bankruptcy trustee would pop her head back up after all these years and say, oh, no, that was part of the bankruptcy estate, and you have to deal with me. And then all of a sudden I come back to you and say, oh, you need another $20,000. Now we got to pay this person off and that person off. We still got to pay all these back taxes. The IRS is now reading on it. That would be, that could be painful. And it's not something it would be hard to justify as a public body. You guys would
We
have to-
basically need to wait till one person owns it, if they ever do.
I can put my thinking cap back on, and there'll probably be a longer shot way to do it. But we've investigated. The city condemned. The county condemned it. The city's never done code enforcement on it. We had a code enforcement on it, which we really don't do. But I'm saying we don't do. We've done. We do another. We can come up with some regulatory way to kind of spur whoever has an interest in that property to do the right thing. And if they don't, then you always want to be in a position to foreclose. We want to be able to foreclose. Give everybody notice that, hey, the city has some interest in the property, whether it's a lien on the property, and they need to do something about it.
Now, we have talked about, and Courtney got quotes from two demolition companies, Riverside and Three Rivers Clearing, to go in and do demo to take, to clean up that area. And then, of course, we would put a lien on it. So, you know, that's something that we might even just consider
And
that.
we've done that before.
But the quotes ran from 25,000 to 50,000. So that would be an investment. And then Dan did research to see if we could get super priority as a government to get in line to be the first lien holder. And no, we would have to get in behind all of the other lien holders to get the money back of the property. So the money that we invest to clear it.
But
And
even so, if you cleared that property, you might make it more attractive for some other outside buyers also.
yeah.
Which was probably, I don't know, I'd like to know if you have any ideas for the property.
I would say, where boats and all the time, we can make it nice. Yeah. I ain't talking about for months at a time, you know, I'm talking about some come in, they need to unload or something, we can have, because see, they can't do it down there because they were built by grants.
Now, that would be a major investment. Would there be any return on the investment?
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it would be a big return.
No,
by no means.
I like a parking lot, you know, you charge $10 to park, take a long time to return.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, if you know, you could, and I have gotten some complaints recently on that property, condition of it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the vagrants that are going in and out, they're going in and out, they're doing.
I can't believe somebody ain't got hurt down there yet.
So what steps do we have to take in order to know if we decide to have some?
Code enforcement and the CRA has its. I'm trying to think. No, is code enforce it, and I need to look into it. We've got to be careful, obviously, even though it's banned and condemned, no one wants to claim it right now. We still got to, I mean, you know, if we went on there and started tearing it down, someone would pop up and accuse us of tearing down their beautiful historic personal properties, or real property.
And who would you code enforce if you don't know who to approach to
That's why we've been just at a standstill.
buy or to, you know, whatever?
Honestly, I mean, this applies more on the private side than it would public, but to me, the cleanest way to approach that would be, Frank, or whoever, the person who has bought the tax certificates would be that someone applies for a tax deed to the property. And to do so, my understanding would be you have to pay all the back taxes. So the person who holds the 6 certificates, or whoever holds the certificates, they get paid with all their interest. Could be a significant amount. And then you would apply to the tax deed. The clerk and tax assessor's office would process that the way they did, advertise everything else. Then there'd be a tax deed sale. And if you're, the way that works is, let's say you paid all the back taxes and it's $50,000. That's your opening bid as the person who applied for the tax deed, the sale, to force the sale. Someone could come in and bid more. Then obviously you're going to get paid back your money, and you can bid over your $50,000 to try and get the property. But it would be a sale, like a foreclosure sale, for the tax deed. And then what you do is you get the tax deed, and then you quiet title on that tax deed. You still have another legal proceeding to quiet title on the tax deed, but the taxes enjoy priority, a type of priority, and there's a statutory scheme set up so that the tax deed is close to good title. So that would be the, I don't know how much the taxes are, but that would be the safest way to approach it from the perspective that you're either going to end up with a property or you're going to get your money back because someone else is going to bid more and get you what you paid in taxes back. So there isn't, the downside is you own the property, the upside, whichever, however you look at it, you're not at risk, as big a risk of having nothing at the end of it. So certificate sent out.
And all this entails attorney work.
Of course. A lot of, yeah, you heard all that talking, it's a lot, it's a bunch of attorney work and being somewhat flexible because, you know, it's one of those attorney things where I can't tell you, oh, it's gonna go 1 through 5 and that's gonna be it. Who knows what twists and turns out there? You get into bankruptcy court, you can deal with the IRS, you can deal with, there's gonna be, it's a mess. So it's not something, I mean, I know I keep saying this, but it's something that a city or local government needs to be real careful about getting into because it's going to be a hit. Then we get the property, then we have to pay $25,000 to demolish it, and what do we do with it? Do we build on it? I mean, it's a lot of expense. It'll be a lot of expense.
And so, and you said 25 to demolish it. We have considered on this board just paying the 25,000 to demolish it just to clean up the site. We don't know who to advise. You have to give notice that you're going to demolish.
I
We
think
don't know who that would be.
I can research that, and the thing that I feel relatively confident about is that through the title search we've already done, we can identify all the parties with an interest in that property. We just tell them all. We tell them all, this is what we're doing, you know, and this is why and how. Give everybody an opportunity to step up and say, don't do that, or we have a problem with what you're doing before we go spending that much money. But that's, yeah, and that's more obviously a government function, you know, like.
Well, that's what the CRA intention is to remove slumming blight. That's the two main items. Sometimes you have to spend money. You don't get it back, but you might get it back by removing that blight. Might improve the other property values around it.
I'm sure that's what piece of property you would get it back.
Yeah.
When we talk about getting it back, it would be indirect.
Right.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Indirectly by improving the
Right.
other properties
Yeah, a beautiful restaurant gets built there or something.
in the future.
Yep.
But it'll always have a lien on it if they build a big, beautiful restaurant on it and they decided to sell it. So eventually we get our money back.
We may not, and this is the reason why, and I know I'm talking in big circles, is if we went and put a lien on it, because we don't have super priority, our lien would go on sometime in 2017. There's liens that predate us, so they're a priority. If one of those liens foreclosed, like if the bank tomorrow sent out a foreclosure, filed a foreclosure lawsuit, they would clean everybody off. They would. Now everybody has different rights. Taxes would have to get paid. The IRS would have a right of redemption, but they could clean everything, collect taxes off that property, even our lien. So that would leave us with, again, you would hope that they would foreclose on it, clean up title, and dare I say developer, but you know, a business person would buy that and approve it, and therefore move downtown benefits from it. That's the only benefit we get. We would not get our 25 grand back.
And then talk a little bit about the docks that are grandfathered in.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing was the docks out there, and you can see them on all the aerials, that they predate, I think it's 1957, the Butler Act, no relation to our Butlers. And what it means is if you had a footprint out there, which we have more than a footprint, we got actual docks, that what that statute did was said that you not only own the uplands, but you can also own the bottom floor. Otherwise, it'd be state property. So you literally, potentially, have a footprint out there that goes out over the water, which again, from a private perspective, especially even, can be really valuable. The wrinkle in that is that the prior owner, Sonala, it looks like they were kind of strong-armed into signing a submerged land lease with the state, even though they, in my opinion, probably didn't have to, but they did. So, and I never analyzed what that did. Did you abdicate? Did you give up rights that you otherwise had by entering into a contract? That lease is long expired, but that would be something that is an added value to that property, just having that argument. Because you can negotiate a better submerged land lease. You always negotiate with them and say, oh, you can't do overnight docking and all the restrictions that we live with all the time on different docks. you have a better bargaining position if you do a lease, or if you go to court and say, you know what, we don't think the state has an interest in this, and that really gets you, then you're really in good shape. You still have to follow the environmental laws, but then you can hang something out over the water, you can rebuild dock structure, you can do a lot of things that are a lot more flexible.
If you own the land and not have the submerged land lease, but you actually own that land.
You actually own that submerged.
Can you build a building over on
You
like
still,
Angela's?
this is the thing, exactly. You could,
Okay.
I'd say, yeah, you could potentially do Angelo's. The only thing that still applies, and this is where they kind of hang you up, is, when you're doing construction, you have all the turbidity in the water and all the environmental, you still have to be very careful because you're working over water. So, and all that's, I say, speculation. But the Butler Act, absolutely, you have, they send divers down looking for pilings and things in a lot of cases just to show the structure there, and that we don't even do that. We got aerials from the war that show, World War II, that show that dock out there. So it exists.
Do you need to do like a workshop or anything to kind of set a strategy? Because all we do is sit there and talk about it. So let's do this.
I would say that, yeah, I hear what you're saying, is if the will of the board is, yeah, we want to do something. Sort of decide if you're going to do something, then I can maybe lay out some of these, and I got to research more, but I can lay out, these are what I consider our options, pick from them, but I wouldn't even bother going through that whole exercise and say, you know what, we're not in a position that we don't want to spend money, the risk, or anything else. Before we do that. But that's up to you all. Just do a workshop to decide whether to proceed with something or not. Of course, it's legitimate.
Mr. Powell just said, let's do this.
No, I was just, I think that it would be worth a lot if we spent some time coming, whether it's at a CRA meeting or a workshop, to kind of formulate a strategy. First thing being, do we want to do anything at all, like Dan just said? And if the answer is yes, then what is it we can do and come up with a strategy as to what we should do? If it's just, demolish it and maybe get our money back, maybe not, but it's worthwhile because it can make the property more attractive for outside buyers, and that's one approach. Another approach is to see what we can do about the city of buying it, turning it into a park, or, and I'm sure other people have other ideas of what they'd like to do with it. So that's what I'd like to suggest, rather than just letting the property sit there and wait for somebody to get rid of it. Like I said, it's surprising nobody's ever heard of it.
Yes, Greg?
Just looked online, the taxes with penalties right now are $23,600 on that.
Well, and Greg just answered a good question, because this is a lawyer in me, is I got myself pretty convinced that the clearest path, without having to get into the IRS and the banks and the bankruptcy and everything else, to try and end run all that, is to buy the taxes, to, let's say, be prepared, but to have somebody, and I don't think you have to hold a certificate again over 2 years old, I believe, and apply for the tax deed, and to do so, you have to pay all those back taxes, $23,000, and then there's a decent chance you end up owning it through tax deed, or someone else buys it, and then we would get our money back, so we're not out anything, and with interest, and then we have a real person or company who hopefully is interested in it at this point, because they paid some real money for it, and we can code enforce and work with them to demo, if they demo, they can do a facade grant and tear it down and do it, and that sort of thing. I do think that's the best way to do it, and it's about kind of, I just hesitate to say, yeah, go ahead and spend $25,000 demolishing it, and for the good of the bankruptcy court, a bank, the IRS, or the tax certificate holder. We'd be benefiting one of those parties, and ourselves by getting rid of some of the blight down there and the safety on it, but we'd be someone getting a windfall on the city's expense.
I just looked again, that parcel to the south of the building is separate. The taxes on that are $22,500.
So that's.
So that is closer.
That's
Additional.
a year?
That's,
A year?
no, that's the total
Outstanding.
taxes
Okay.
with penalties,
Uh-huh. Oh, that's not.
So it's
interest, I guess.
45, right? It's out. And those would have to be paid any which way.
Whoever gets it, however gets it. Do you think that price is including the interest on it, on those certificates, or?
It's in,
It says on there that it's the taxes and then penalties. They've got a list of taxes, then penalties. I don't know if penalties means interest or,
Yeah, it's that accelerated, it's that higher, it could be 12%. We could be running high. But whoever's buying them has a lot, it could be a number of individuals, there's one who's got a lot of money invested in that too. Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't have I mean, the thing is, the city is in a unique position to clean it up and get it straightened out. It's a private person, that's a scary property to buy. It would be scary to be, the person who bought the tax certificates, I mean, he has 6 years worth, is what it sounds like, and he could have applied for the tax deed 3 years ago, he hasn't, for a good reason. If he got a tax deed with that property, cool, he would have a mess on his hands. I mean, either the city breathing down his neck, the county's been down
Big
there.
liability.
Big liability for a private party. At least we have sovereign immunity, we have resources to get it straightened out.
So, we've been talking about this, last February, I believe, we asked you to do the title search of February 16th, so we've been talking about it quite some time. How do we want to move forward? If anything, at this point.
I just think it's too expensive, too complicated. You're gonna put $45,000 taxes, anywhere from 25
right,
to
but
50.
we can
tear it down, haul it
sign
off.
them and get, and spend the
You still tie up
25,000
court.
and everything back.
If it just had a for sale sign on it, we want this X amount of dollars, just like we do on Miss Prager, that's simple. This is a mess. Careful what we get into here.
Well, I was thinking, we don't have to own it.
8 years.
I wasn't talking about buying the taxes or owning it, but we could send out a yard patrol down there, Keisha, and get her to, well, it's already condemned, but we could put a lien on it and clean it up.
So you could spend the money, demolish it, make it possibly attract work.
I mean, it's no wonder somebody ain't got hurt
For
it.
somebody.
Man, it's a
That's
high.
not
bad.
$45,000, it's $25,000. Probably a 10% chance of getting
It
it.
seems like nobody has a right to it.
Yeah,
And
no
we
one
can
person.
send the
I mean, it is a
letter to
back-
everybody,
I mean, it was,
right, that's got a lien on it. Everybody that's got a lien would get the letter.
yeah, right.
And you never know, if somebody buys it and does put something there, and we get our money back eventually on taxes, because the taxes are surely gonna go
Yeah,
up.
that's true.
No, I mean, it's a waterfront, deep, shrimp boats, a couple on top of each other.
That's what Tim
Oh, up
Saunders
there.
want to put back in
Yeah.
there, to seafood.
But I mean, that's one of the better pieces of waterfront property, and, it tells, yeah, I mean, it tells its own story that no one wants to claim it. I mean, banks.
But everybody
IRS,
wants it.
We want it, but I don't know,
It's a valuable piece of property.
very valuable.
Can we afford it? That's
Well, it seems like anybody can afford it right now.
Now, as far as demolishing it, I have thought about, but I don't know if it's structurally feasible, is to take out all of the wooden structures, all the roofs that are falling in, and just leave the shell of the brick building there, as like they do the old cotton mills in Georgia, you know, they'll take everything out and still leave the shell there to take the things out on the glass. So it's not dangerous, but, and if there's no fluorine in it, you know, immigrants, vagrants can't get in there and do whatever they do. So, we know what they do. So, I don't know though, if it, my husband was telling me if you took the floors out, the walls might cave in, so I don't know if that would be feasible, but if you didn't take the walls down, the demo would be a little less expensive, because you could transport that to the landfill. So,
I believe a few more years it'll demolish itself.
yeah.
I don't know who's gonna get to have to clean that river up.
Is the foundation stable? We don't even know.
I don't know anything about it. All right, so we've had discussion, and it's something that we can think about. We don't have money to spend in this budget year, but it's just something to think about for the next budget year when it comes time to do project proposals.
Just a question, do we know what its original purpose was in its history? Camera, is that available?
Oh,
It
Mr.
was
Wright.
it was seafood houses, it was AB 7 seafood house, and then it was, Tom Crum had it most recently, before Dr. Sanala bought it. It's always been used as a seafood house, I believe.
But didn't Vera
Built
Snyder
for
owned it
seafood.
before,
Yeah, before Mr. Crum.
Dr. They bought it after Tom Crum had it, and then Dr. Sanala bought it from Vera Snyder. Because they done a owner financing
Yes,
for
it is.
years.
Ours.
Beverly would remember that wife. That they owned it.
Okay, all right. I want to, since we mentioned slum and blight, I'm just going to go ahead and mention then the next thing behind that on the Florida statute for CRAs to help provide affordable housing. Just to, you know, say that we discussed affordable housing. There's another one that I have, and this is a much smaller scale, and it's this building here across from these Riverwalk condos, right here, that little building that's on the Avenue D that has been abandoned. Avenue D has been abandoned, so it's this little tiny building right here. We walk by it all the time, but it's very dangerous right there. Broken glass is out there right now. Okay, and some people say it's the old post office, and some people say it's not. It's right up against the sidewalk, and that's on the inside. And I mean, all that glass is broke out there. You can, you know. So this is a hazard as well. It's much smaller than the Sonoma properties, but we need to code enforce or do something with this little piece of property here.
That is Bill Miller on that still?
Who owns that?
It's a group, they own, they own most of that block.
And they can actually have it up.
No, I didn't put the name on it.
They own the old trailer park there too.
Yeah. When the Avenue D was abandoned, that park, that trailers weren't there. Okay, so y'all are looking that up now?
It was built from the bricks of the original McKissick's drugstore that was in the fire that took out most of downtown back many years ago. And he paid kids a penny a brick to clean the bricks, so he could build him a little building like that to put his drugs in before we finally built up what turned out to be Burgess.
But if there's one owner on that, they need to be notified or something, because that's a hazard there.
It's owned by Prospera LLC, a company out of Orlando.
Uh-huh.
If the alley
Yeah,
was,
they bought that. They bought that with those lots in behind.
if the alley was abandoned, don't they generally, each property owner on each side get half the alley? How did that get surveyed where they got, because it looks like it sits right in the middle of the alley.
Yes, if the alley, if a public right of way is abandoned, the adjacent property owners own out to the center.
Well, then the Morehouse would own half of it.
Yep, Morehouse property, yep, that is abandoned. Exactly, Carrabelle LLC.
So how would we handle that? If you have two, no, it seems like two properties, two people on there. Is that correct?
No, it's, what it is, you're talking about the abandonment, how people don't have.
That building?
The building is owned by Prospera LLC, so that would be the entity of the permit code.
But now, if it's sitting in the middle of the street that was abandoned, it's not half owned by the people that own the Morehouse, or how did that?
Oh, if that thing, if it's sitting, that is in the middle of the alley
Well,
or street.
Yes.
I didn't do a survey, so I don't know if it's sitting right.
No, I would be surprised if they stuck that in the public right of way, but if they did,
It is in the right of way.
then if it's
And
on,
the
if it's on,
street.
if it's on the Morehouse side of the center line,
Did we find that Morehouse survey?
Maybe have one with me. But we can look it up and see. I mean, I'm just bringing it to your attention that something should really be done with it, to notify the owners, to code enforce it, possibly give a facade grant to clean it up, something really needs to be done with that. It's a hazard. And we're trying to clean up blight, and that's certainly blighted.
At one time, when I was looking for a little studio, I considered maybe trying to look into that. But there just wasn't plus cover.
I think yeah, I know it.
The barber shop is also something.
So what do y'all think if we just demo it? How would that happen? What would happen there if we just did that, just took it down?
we have to go through
Give
the
them
code enforcement.
Code enforcement and
notice.
say we're gonna, like we did Brandy Smith's house,
Yep.
give them.
And give them notice
Uh-huh.
and send them a certified letter, and they don't respond, and they have 60 days, and then you go out.
Say code enforcement.
Code enforcement, tell them we're gonna take it down. They don't, clean it up. Yeah. Well, that's an idea then. Okay, maybe we'll do that. Do we want to direct the staff to do that?
Actually, since maybe it's the city commission, I guess we're
Okay,
sitting with CRA.
all right.
CRA probably should get into code enforcement.
Staff will code enforcement.
Okay.
We've been noticed.
I don't think it has to go for the city board.
It doesn't. All someone has to do is make a complaint,
Right.
which I think we've got.
Say
plenty of.
CRA board complaint.
Yeah.
And then I would suggest too, maybe for the next year, we can look at some facade repairs to the old Coast Guard office there. And then if we have extra money, if there's no, we can't think of any projects, some additional leveraging to the Northwest Avenue B project. We've got a $650,000 CDBG grant going there with $310 from the CRA to do the residential side. CDBG is doing the commercial part of it. And we might find if we want to add some more street lights or sidewalks or more stormwater and gutter on the side streets between Avenue B and Highway 98. We'll just see how it goes. And it's just a suggestion for the next year. And then this is another small project. The chain link fencing that is about to fall down on top of your vehicles. between the post office and the fire department. I have talked to the Butlers about that, about getting a facade grant, pay 80% to improve all their fencing. I've received several complaints from shop owners around that area about that fencing, and the Butlers say that fencing belongs to the city. But if we go to remove it, then I wonder what the Butlers will say. But could we remove that?
Well,
fencing?
I would say, yeah, we get something in writing where they say, nope, city owns that fencing, and then sure, we can remove it. Just have a nice open area, you know?
But that's something that we can look at doing in our next,
Yeah.
If they say the city doesn't own it, then we'll code enforce it.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they don't even.
But we need some, I would think we need something in writing from them disclaiming ownership.
Good luck getting anything from Butlers.
Okey dokey, and then we might look at revision to our CRA facade grant criteria coming up. In the beginning, I suggested that we don't have signage with business name on it included in the grant reimbursement, and a lot of the board members wanted that, but now, you know, we put money into signage, and the business is out of business now, or, you know, they'll soon be out of business, the CRA did. So we may want to take another look at that. And we put a good bit of money into GUSC facade grant, $16,000 total on their signage and flagpole. Yeah. So, and we did talk about at one point, many of the CRA districts in Florida that do offer the facade grant have a lien, it's prorated on their grant funding, and if someone sells or goes out of business, then there's a lien, a prorated lien. Some of the funding will come back to the CRA because we've got folks that do the improvements, get the facade grant, do the improvements, and within a month they've got their property up for sale. And I know that's going to be happening in the one that we just did last month. I mean, I haven't seen it for sure, but I expect that will happen. So you did it on another one. So, you know, that's just something to consider. And back in, I found some notes, Rob commented back in February 18, 2014, 3 years ago, over 3 years ago, you talked about putting an X in the grant, set an X number of days prior to close of the CRA budgeting process for deadline for all applications for facade grants. Have all the applications put forth. And once our little bit of our money starts getting smaller, we may have to give those applications before, you know, during the budget process. And the CRA will review all the applications before the deadline. Funding will be determined and awarded to those applicants who demonstrate the highest impact to the CRA district within budget limitations. And the CRA should have flexibility to award just one grant, multiple grants, no grants, depending upon the budget and the amount of funding that's delegated to that line item, and merits of the applications and the number of applications. And that's just something that I thought was kind of interesting about your old comments. So, but y'all need to be thinking on some ideas for projects for the next year coming up. We will start our budget process probably in June or somewhere around there. Projects, start talking about projects and budget in July and August. So, do we have any other items that the board members would like to talk about in the CRA district?
I just would like to say, I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
We all figure out something good to do.
I beg your pardon? I beg big crowd?
That's if we have a party.
Okay. All right, is there anything else then? If not, we'll adjourn for a few minutes before our next meeting. So, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that.
Okay, so that's a motion by Commissioner Allen, a second by Commissioner Massey. Is there any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you all.